Hi everyone, it's Julia from Crosspatch. We're back today to show you how to make these circle bags. So if I show you them closed and then we'll show you them opened. Here's the little medium-sized one, and then here's a baby one. So there's two versions of baby ones. There's this one and then there's one inside this bag. That's the other version. Okay, so when you open them up, they open right up. So the idea is you could take them to a class. If you've got one of those little mini irons, you can shove that in there. And because I've used Bosal on this and I've put wool felt in the middle, you could do like small applique projects and use it as a little mini ironing board. So that's the inside of the big blue one. Let's show the inside of the pink one. That's the inside of the pink one. Fabrics, if you're wondering, these are Cath Holden fabrics. That's a Cath Holden. That's a Dutch Heritage on the inside. These are both Cath Holden, and the baby one is as well. So let's open the baby one. So the little baby ones are good for holding your scissors. So there's a little baby one. And all I did with this one, instead of using pieces of fabric, I've pieced it with some 2.5 inch squares. So I made up a 10-inch square out of 2.5 inch squares. And instead of putting felt on the inside, I put a flower on the outside just using fabric. Okay, so that's the three sizes. Now I'm going to move the camera down so you can see how I made it. So it's very similar sort of way of making it to the circle bags, which are a previous demo. So in case you don't know what I'm talking about, these are the old style circle bags, and they don't open out fully like those ones, but it's a similar idea. They're made out of circles basically. So there's another video on those. Right, so let's move you down here and let's show you how to make them. So as with the other circle bags, we start with two squares. So your outer fabric and your lining fabric. So to make your circle, you fold your fabric into 4. So for the baby size is a 4.5 inch diameter. So just get your ruler, find 4.5 inches on your ruler and put that 4.5 inch point on the folded point in the middle of your fabric, and get a pen and mark 4.5 inches, and then just keeping the 4.5 inch mark on that corner, go all the way round, and so you can see you've marked 1/4 of a circle there, and then just cut it out and you'll end up with a circle. Okay, now for your lining fabric, don't bother with that. Let me just take those pins out. Fuse your main fabric to some Bosal or some foam wadding. Okay, your lining fabric, before you do your lining, you want to applique your flower to the middle. Okay, I haven't bothered to applique yet another one just to a sample, but I would applique it now. If you want to put your flower on the outside, then you can applique it on top of when you fuse that bit to the Bosal, applique it there. If you've got directional fabric like this one, make sure your flower's like sitting up the right way around, if you know what I mean, so that it's not, so that when you fold it in half, where's the one with on the outside? When you fold it in half, you want to be folding across the middle of your flower. You don't sort of want it folding cockeyed, as it were. Okay, so this is your lining fabric. Let's pretend I've stitched a flower to the middle of that lining fabric. Leave your lining fabric as a square, then you can put your finished circle on top of that, pin it in place and stitch all round. So if I just pin that there, pin it in place and stitch it all round, but you want to leave a big seam allowance in one corner. So normally I will leave that corner and I'll leave a fairly big seam allowance for when I'm turning it out. Okay, so sew it together, make sure you sew it, you want a good 1/4 inch seam allowance on the Bosal. Okay, and you will end up with this. circle. So on that end there, you can see I've left extra seam allowance, so that when I turn it right sides out, obviously you're going to have to tuck that seam allowance in, and if it's a bit bigger it makes it a lot easier because it's quite fiddly turning it in, because you're going to end up with that. So what I do is I turn it round that way and I turn my seam allowance in and I press it down, and I then fold under the 1/4 inch seam allowance which is attached to the bosal. I fold that under and then tack it down. So if I show you what I've done here, I've folded the yellow fabric, you can see on the back, and then the front, because it's bosal it won't stay down, so then you tuck that under and then pin it. Okay, so at this point decide if you want to put some lace all the way around the outside. Grab your lace and then work out where you're folding, where you're going to fold this bag in half. So I think I'm going to fold it like that. So I'm going to start my lace on that folded corner there, so it's not so noticeable where the join is, and I'm just going to fold over the end of the lace to cover the raw seam, and I'm going to pin that there, and then I will top stitch it all around the edge. And then when I will start from about there, so that when I get all the way around I can tuck the other bit of lace in the end there and then top stitch that over the top of that, so that when you've done that you will end up with this. So I've sewn the lace all the way around, there's the inside. That just needs a couple of little stitches, slip stitches, to hold it in place, so that when you fold it in half, that will be my bag. Now on the little one I don't normally do handles, but if you want to do handles, you want to put them on now before you put your zip in. So the handles, I'll give measurements in the description, okay? So the handles for the baby bag, they're only 10 inches by 2.5 inches, and I've fused some wadding to one side. You fold them right sides together, and then you need to leave a gap in that length of the handle, and then sew down the edges and up the sides. Turn it right sides out, and then you fold it in half again, but then you just stitch from 3 inches each side, so that you end up with a handle that looks like that. Okay, and that handle, you need to mark again where the middle of your bag is. So there's the bag, and you want to sit your handles on there, making sure, looking on the back, that when you sew them in place you're not stitching through the felt. Okay, so on the bigger bags it's about 2 inches in from the side and 2 inches down from the top, and then just top stitch them in place. Okay, once you've done that, we're going to make a zip. Now the zip is the same as I make a zip unit. If you've watched my videos before, you've seen me make these, and you want your zip to be about 4 inches longer than your bag. Okay, all together, so 2 inches each side roughly, because otherwise if you have a shorter zip that stops here, your bag won't open right out. Okay, so to make your zip unit, grab a zip. I usually use, even for the little one, I grab a 20-inch zip and I make that up, and then I trim it down. So you grab your zip, you grab 2 lengths of fabric, 2.5 inches wide by the length of your zip, and you fold them in half twice as if you're making binding. Okay, and those will enclose your zip either side, so you will sew them on top of your zip either side, fold them over and sew them in place on your zip. Okay, either side. I do that first, and then I always get rid of that nasty bit of metal on the end. Always cut that bit off afterwards, because otherwise you break your sewing machine needles if you forget it's there. Once you've done that, you want tabs for the end of your zip. The tabs I make are usually 3.5 by 2.5, and you wrap your tabs around the end of your zip like that, and then you stitch across the end. So this is why you want to get rid of that nasty bit of metal that's there, because otherwise you break your needles on your machine. So you sew that round, it's folded onto the back like that. Once you've sewn it in place, you just pull it up. So you pull that up, so that was sewn down like so. So that's wrapped around the zip, you've sewn it across the top, and then you just pull it up. Okay, and then you fold it over once, fold it over twice, and top stitch it across, and you will end up with a zip unit that looks like this. Okay, so you've got a fully enclosed zip unit. So once you've done that, fold your zip in half, find the middle of your zip, get your bag, fold that in half, and then fold it in half again to find out where the middle of the top of your bag is. And then you want to pin your zip unit, back of the zip unit, to the inside of your purse or your bag, pin that there, and then mould it round the edge. And then you want to start sewing about 1 inch from the end of the zip, and you sew about 1/8 of an inch in. Okay, if I show you on that one, you sew about 1/8 of an inch in. Look both sides, you're just top stitching it so it doesn't really show, and you've got a small gap at the end where it opens. So you sew one side in, then open the zip, sew the other side in, and then Bob's your uncle, your zip is in and your bag is finished. So here's the little one I didn't bother putting handles on. Here's the medium sized one. I'm going to put you up on the top now. Now we've finished the demo, and I'll show you the bags again. So here's the medium sized one, and you can see there's just a little gap on the end. So that's a medium sized one. So the handles for this size are slightly chunkier, and then on the big sized one they're chunkier again. So these ones are 5 inch, started as 5 inch by 15. Another thing you can do, you can add some self-cover buttons to the front, which I did on the big one. So I just fussy cut some of the motifs out of this nice fabric. Okay, that's that one. So they're really easy to do. All the instructions will be, the measurements and stuff will be in the description. There is a pattern available. If you really want a pattern, it will be on my website. If you're in the UK, cross-patch.co.uk. And that's that demo. I'll just show you something I've been working on. I've got a new stitchery out. This is on the website, but I haven't made anything with it yet. So if I just show you. It took me hours and hours of fun. So I used my Aurifil thread collections, and I've stitched this up, and I've just had some new fabric in from Three Sisters, and I think I'm going to make a table runner with this pretty fabric, and I think I'm going to put it in the middle of that. So I've had that one in, which is also on the website. So nice Moda Three Sisters. This is this different colourway, really pretty. And then there's a Christmas one as well. So this is the Christmas one, and we were trying to decide yesterday what to make with it. So I think I'm going to make some Christmas stockings and some table mats and things with this, because it's really pretty fabric. So that's it for today. As usual, thanks ever so much for watching. I'll be back with something hopefully next week. I've got the grandchildren staying tonight, so wish me luck. I don't think we'll be getting much sleep. Apparently Tommy is camping in the caravan with Simon. Tommy is 5. And Evie, who's 3, is apparently sleeping with me until she decides in the middle of the night that she wants mummy. Fortunately, mummy is only a mile up the road, so wish me luck. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.